The moment I saw them standing there, my parents, rigid and hesitant, as if steeling themselves to offer some half-hearted apology, I almost laughed. The irony was too rich. After years of silence, after leaving me behind in the frigid mountains while they poured everything into Jackson, here they were, desperate for help from the very daughter they had cast aside. "Thank you for traveling such a distance," my mother began, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it, her eyes downcast in a mix of shame and hope. "We've heard you might assist our struggling factory," my father added, his tone subdued, his gaze fixed on the floor rather than meeting mine. "For that, we're profoundly thankful." The words hung in the air, thick with unspoken history. Their factory, their legacy, was crumbling, and the person they were begging for help, the girl they had dismissed as worthless. I exhaled slowly, folding my arms. "Let's focus on business matters, please. Look at me." When they finally raised their heads, their expressions twisted in shock, mouths agape, eyes wide, as my voice, now firm and unfamiliar to them, registered in their minds. The sheer absurdity of it sent a burst of laughter ripping from my throat. "Now," I said, grinning, "how can I help you?" The weight of a name. I was Violet Wilson, born into a family where tradition dictated worth. Our name carried weight in this rural stretch of the city, where farmland still sprawled between pockets of industry. The Wilsons had been blacksmiths since my great-grandfather's time, forging tools for farmers before expanding into machinery parts. Under my father, Liam, and my mother, Samantha, Wilson machinery had grown, modest, but respected. Then there was Jackson, my elder brother, golden, brilliant, the heir apparent. From the moment he could speak, it was clear he was destined for greatness. He absorbed knowledge effortlessly, aced every exam, and carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who knew his place in the world. And then there was me. Where Jackson was books and precision, I was motion, wild, untamed. I ran like the wind, legs carrying me across fields until my lungs burned. School was a battleground I could never quite conquer, no matter how hard I tried. Numbers tangled in my mind, essays never flowed as smoothly as they did for him. A woman cannot inherit the family estate, my father had told me coldly when I was barely 13. Once you finish high school, that's it. Those words carved a chasm between us. While Jackson was groomed for leadership, I was an afterthought, a secondary character in his story. The breaking point, the worst of it came after a particularly brutal round of midterm exams. I had studied until my vision blurred, only to receive grades that still fell short. My parents' disappointment was a blade. "You're nothing like Jackson," my mother sighed, shaking her head as if my failure was inevitable. "Do you not see your own limitations?" That night, as I sat alone in my room, Jackson knocked quietly before entering. He didn't say much, he never did, but he sat beside me and slid a notebook across the desk. "Let's go over what you missed," he said simply. It wasn't much, but it was enough. A different path. When Jackson left for university, the house felt hollow. His absence magnified the comparisons. The unspoken "why can't you be like him?" that lingered in every conversation. So I ran, literally. I joined the track team, pushing my body to its limits. Running was freedom. It was the one thing I could do better than Jackson, the one place where I didn't have to measure up to his shadow. But my parents barely noticed. When Jackson turned 19, they threw a lavish dinner in his honor. Relatives gathered, toasting his future. I wasn't invited. "Jackson deserves this," my mother said coolly when I asked why. "You, with your running obsession, would only dampen the spirits." That night, I ate instant noodles alone, the steam curling into the air like the ghost of my worth in their eyes. A spark in the dark. Then, one summer, Jackson came home with a gift, an older model laptop. "It might help with your studies," he said, smiling. He also handed me a beginner's programming book. "Try this, you might like it." And I did. For the first time, something clicked. The logic, the structure, it made sense in a way school never had. I stayed up late, typing away, each successful line of code a tiny victory. Until my father found me. "Are you playing games instead of studying?" he snapped. "I'm programming," I shot back, frustration boiling over. His face darkened. Before I could react, he snatched the laptop and hurled it out the window. "Now that it's broken, maybe you'll focus on what matters." I retrieved it in silence, the screen shattered, my dreams with it. Rebuilding from ruin, but I wasn't done. A friend's offhand suggestion, "Why not use the school computers?" became my lifeline. I buried myself in the computer lab, coding until my fingers ached. A teacher noticed, offering guidance. Slowly, I improved. Then, another summer, another gift, this time from Charles, Jackson's awkward, kind-hearted friend, a used laptop, handed to me with a teasing grin from my brother. "He's quite fond of you," Jackson murmured, chuckling as my face burned. With that laptop, my world expanded. Programming wasn't just a skill, it was my future. The final betrayal, and then, the trip. A sudden, uncharacteristic gesture, a family vacation to a snowy luxury hotel. At first, I thought, maybe they've changed. But late that night, I heard them whispering. "We can't keep spending on her, it's better if she stays behind this time." A cold realization settled in my chest. They weren't here to reconnect. They were here to abandon me. Standing before them now, and now, years later, here they stood, begging. The daughter they had discarded was the one they needed. I smiled, sharp as broken glass. "Now," I repeated, tilting my head, "how can I help you?" The silence that followed was sweeter than any apology. The silence in the car was suffocating. I sat in the back seat, staring out at the endless white landscape, my breath fogging up the cold window. The family trip had been a farce, I knew that now. The forced smiles, the awkward small talk, the way my parents' eyes kept darting to my brother instead of me, it had all been leading to this moment. My father cleared his throat. "Let's stop here, I want coffee." Jackson nodded. "There's a vending area up ahead." I didn't speak, my hands clenched in my lap, nails digging into my palms. When we pulled into the parking lot, I wordlessly got out and trudged through the snow to the vending machines. Coffee for my father, tea for my mother, milk tea for myself, a small comfort. Then I turned around and saw my father yanking my suitcase from the trunk. My stomach dropped. "No, not like this." "Well, this is goodbye," he said, his voice as cold as the wind whipping around us. I stood frozen. "What?" "It's too costly in time and fuel to drive you all the way to the station." He shrugged, as if discussing the weather. "You're like a dog, easily tamed with a little kindness." The words hit like a slap. My voice trembled. "The station is still miles from here. Do whatever you want, run or walk." His lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You were in the track team, after all." A final, cruel joke. My mother didn't even look at me. Jackson, at least, had the decency to drape my coat over the suitcase before stepping back, his expression unreadable. Then they left. Just like that. The taillights of the car disappeared into the swirling snow, leaving me standing there, suitcase in hand, heart hammering. I should have cried, screamed, collapsed. But I didn't. Instead, I laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound that echoed in the empty parking lot. So this is it. The final severing of the rope I'd been clinging to for years. I took a deep breath. The air was biting, but it filled my lungs with something new. Freedom. 10 years later, the factory loomed ahead, its faded sign, Wilson Machinery, barely clinging to the rusted metal. I parked my car, smoothing my blazer. The last time I'd stood here, I'd been a discarded daughter. Now I was Violet Wilson, project lead at Charles Industries. "Violet?" I turned. Jackson stood there, grinning. "I was worried you'd get lost. This place has changed." I smirked. "GPS exists now, brother." He laughed, but his eyes were assessing me. "You look different." "I am different." We walked toward the factory, the crunch of gravel beneath our shoes. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of oil and old metal, and there, waiting nervously near the office, my parents. "Thank you for coming," my mother said, wringing her hands. My father bowed his head. "We're grateful for your assistance." Jackson cleared his throat. "No need for formalities, we're family." My father stiffened. "No, we must show respect to our esteemed guests from Charles Industries." I couldn't help it. I laughed. Their heads snapped toward me. That voice. My father squinted. "Violet?" "In the flesh." I crossed my arms. "The one you left in the snow." Their faces paled. "You're from Charles Industries?" my mother whispered. "Project lead," I confirmed, "and wife of the department head." The silence was delicious. The reckoning. Later, in the office, I laid out the terms. "The factory is failing because of mismanagement. I said coolly. We're restructuring. You're out. My father slammed his fist on the desk. You can't do this. We're your parents. I met his gaze without flinching. You stopped being my parents the day you left me behind. My mother's lips trembled. We didn't. Save it. I stood. The only reason this factory has a chance is because of Jackson. And me. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Dad? I glanced over my shoulder. Dogs bite back. Epilogue. Warmth in the cold. Years later, the factory thrived. New jobs, new hope. My parents? They ended up in a frozen town, begging for help. I sent them a box of hand warmers. Poetic justice. Now, every winter, Charles and I return to that hotel, the one where my old life ended. He nudged me as we watched the snow fall. Thinking about the past? I smiled, just remembering a girl who stood in the cold and chose to walk forward. He kissed my temple. Best decision you ever made. And it was. Because sometimes, the coldest endings lead to the brightest beginnings.